The gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Trafficant.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
I oppose the bill. Egypt sent 2,000 troops to Saudi Arabia. This bill will forgive at least $6 billion in loans. Ladies and gentlemen, that's $3 million per soldier. This must be the first time we've ever allowed bionic soldiers to get a break in this budget. But what else bothers me? There's all kinds of quirks and add-ons in this bill for Israel. We just raised taxes on mom and dad. There's no wonder why the American people are taxed off. I'm taxed off. I don't like the last minute with this bill. It's become the sacred cow. There's quirks in it. And I'm tired of being called anti-Semitic because I oppose this madness of money going overseas, taking care of all these foreign countries, and raising taxes in our own country. In my opinion, this is the saddest thing this Congress does. And everybody keeps saying, oh, it's such a small percentage of the budget. What was revenue sharing? Damn it. You threw out $3 billion to cities like Youngstown and Cleveland because that was breaking the bank. Then you put more money in here for Israel. I'm against this. I think the American people should consider this vote as much as they considered that vote last night, because that budget was un-American and this bill is more than just un-American. It's worthless. I yield back the balance of my time.
Time the gentleman has expired.
I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Rohrbacher.
The gentleman from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I ask to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, this foreign aid request and this foreign aid bill represents more than just the spending of money. It represents hope for a better life and hope for peace throughout the world. Many of us who believe in a strong national defense understand that the military strength of the United States plays a great role in preserving peace and actually promoting liberty throughout the world. Indeed, freedom wouldn't have much of a chance anywhere and would not have had much of a chance anywhere in this last decade if it wasn't for the United States with a strong military. However, foreign aid and foreign assistance also plays an important role. And in this bill, we know about the large recipients. We know about Israel and Pakistan and Egypt. But there are also small provisions. For example, in this bill, there is a very small earmark for humanitarian assistance to those people who are on the border, the Thai-Burma border, who are struggling now for democracy in Burma. And I would like to point out to the American people that it is just this type of commitment that makes the United States the admirable country that it is. It is just this type of commitment of a small amount of money that offers hope to the people of the world that indeed they should stand firm for freedom in these different places in the world and that they are not alone. So as we take a look at this legislation, let us not just place our faith in weapons, because that is an expensive way to keep the peace, but let us also realize that America can play a role in the world through this type of influence by committing ourselves and our resources to those people who are struggling for freedom and those people who are longing for peace throughout different parts of the world, and especially in Burma. Let the message go out tonight that to those people who believe in freedom and are struggling there, we are with you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Texas,
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes. Distinguished Chairman of the Subcommittee on Judiciary, Mr. Schumer. Criminal justice is the one.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the distinguished chairman of the full entire Judiciary Committee for yielding to this subcommittee chairman. Let me say, my colleagues, that this bill is indeed a turning point. It says that our immigration policy is in need of revision given the new world we are in, and that we have stepped up to the plate and met the challenge. The bill says that immigrants are good for America, as they have been for 200 years, adding their vitality, their skills, their energy, and their plain, ordinary desire to be Americans and be free and participate in our system to our wealth and to our strength. Every study has shown that immigrants give far more to America than they take. Every study has shown that areas of our country that have many immigrants are vital and strong and important. And this bill adds immigrants in 3 ways. First, it increases the number. We're a growing country and we need more immigrants in general. Second, it says for the first time that immigrants should be admitted in large numbers because we need their skills. There are many companies in this country, try as they might, who are stymied and stifled because they can't find aeronautical engineers, hospitals that can't find nurses, companies that can't find specific kinds of skills, whether they be low, medium, or high, and they need them. And third, what this says is that there are parts of the world that should be able to contribute to American immigration. Places like Ireland and Italy and Poland and Nigeria, who have been denied simply because the people from those areas came to America not 30 years ago, but 50 and 100 and 200 years ago. This bill, under the diversity provision that I have authored, allows those people to come into this country. So overall, Mr. Chairman, this is a bill that meets the needs of this country in the 21st century. We're not doing this for the immigrants, we're doing this for America. I yield back the balance.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to the gentlewoman from Maryland, Mrs. Morella, 2 minutes.
The gentlewoman from Maryland is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to express my support for the conference report on S358, the Family Unity Employment Opportunity Immigration Act of 1990. S358 represents the most significant effort since 1965 to reform our nation's current legal immigration laws. And I want to commend again the chairman of the committee, Mr. Brooks, the ranking member, Mr. Fish, the chairman, Mr. Morrison of the subcommittee, the ranking member, Mr. Smith of the subcommittee, and the others who worked so hard, and I'm pleased that Mr. Moakley's provision is also included. I believe that the existence of huge backlogs in family reunification visa cases, a continued shortage of workers with highly specialized skills, and systemic problems that have disadvantaged 19th century sending countries demonstrate the need for revision of our immigration system. This bill addresses these problems, reuniting divided families, improving economic competitiveness by facilitating the immigration of those with scarce skills, and addressing the anti-European bias in the 1965 law. Like most immigration bills, it is not perfect. I'm particularly concerned about the limitation of the numbers for low-skilled workers to 10,000 per year. This is far below the demonstrated need for these visas. This limit on employer-sponsored immigration of low-skilled workers will prevent many American workers, especially women, from pursuing careers while also caring adequately for their families. Thus, children, the elderly, and the disabled will be seriously and adversely affected. The most recent publication of the Committee for Economic Development, a panel of leading business figures, presents a comprehensive summary of our future work needs. The report, which I recommend to members, demonstrates that this category of low-skilled immigrant workers needs at least 19,000 visas plus family members. The conference report provides a review of immigration policy. I hope this issue will be reconsidered, and I certainly am going to vote for this conference committee report. I thank you.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
And I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Nancy Pelosi.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for yielding, Mr. Chairman. I want to join our colleagues in thanking you and recognizing you, Mr. Fish, and the other members of the committee for your hard work in bringing this bill to the floor. I particularly want to commend Mr. Morrison for his leadership on issues of concern to my community. And it's with a degree of state pride in California that I commend Mr. Berman for representing our interest on the committee and giving us a bill that's good for our state, good for our community, most of all, good for our country. I, as one who believes that immigration is good for our country because it's a source of invigoration and refreshment to us, I'm particularly pleased with the provisions of this bill which streamline the operation for people coming here, especially in terms of family reunification, bringing the ethics of academic and work, bringing the family values and religious values to our community, to enrich our community in that way. I'm particularly pleased that the initiative Mr. Fish took about extending a registration in Stage 2 of the legalization process according to IRCA was included in the bill, and of course want to commend Mr. Moakley's legislation that was included in the bill as well, which will go a long way to help not only the Salvadorans, but those in our country who minister to their needs. I commend the leadership of the committee again and urge an aye vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, sometime in the course of the last 10 days or 2 weeks, the House adopted a Veterans Compensation Act. A vote was on, the matter appeared on the suspension calendar. It was adopted unanimously. That piece of legislation, in addition to including the compensation that the distinguished gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Montgomery, spoke of, also included compensation for those of our veterans who were injured and damaged because of Agent Orange connection during the Vietnam War. If this legislation goes without that provision over to the Senate, then those veterans who've been waiting for years and years and years to get just compensation will be denied. It is for that reason that I object to consideration of this legislation.
Chairman, yield. Before I object,
please yield.
What you're doing is actually hurting those service-connected
Reserving
veterans.
the right to object. I'm not hurting anybody. The Senate has a piece of legislation over there. It is up to them to, in fact, take care of all the veterans who deserve to be taken care of at this time.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
I object, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, let me explain it, would you? The gentleman from New York and others in the chamber are concerned about a provision we had pertaining to Agent Orange. It was passed on the House floor. It was sent to the Senate with the compensation COLA in it. For some reason, the Senate has not acted on it. I don't know why the gentleman wants to blame us for it. We would take whatever the Senate did, and if they send it back over here, whatever it contained in their bill, Agent Orange, doctors, professional and increased pay, the COLAs, but it's the Senate. It is not the House. We have sent the bill over there. They can act on Agent Orange. It's just not fair that we penalize these service-connected veterans just because the Senate didn't act on the Agent Orange.
I completely agree with the gentleman. I thank him for his statement. I ask my colleagues to reconsider that we put the veterans of America ahead of our own personal interests in these final moments. And I withdraw my reservation.
Mr. Speaker,
Gentleman from New York.
Proceed out of order for 1 minute.
Is there objection? Chair hears none.
Mr. Speaker, the subcommittee which I chair on government operations.
Just for a moment. Without objection, the concurrent resolution is agreed to and the motion reconsider is laid upon the table. New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The subcommittee which I chair on government operations has held numerous hearings on how those veterans who served in Vietnam, who were subjected to Agent Orange spraying, have been injured, their families have been injured, and they've been denied any compensation. Finally, a piece of legislation is passed in committee by a vote of 16 to 14, and now all of a sudden we want a separate clean bill without provision for Vietnam veterans. Don't tell me I'm not concerned about veterans. I'm concerned about all the veterans, not just the ones you choose to be concerned about.
Gentleman's time has expired.
There was some question on our side about the recall provisions of this that I had been asking about. The minority leader is here now. Mr. Leader, I'm reserving the right to object. Have we cleared that language?
To respond to the gentleman, of course, the administration would prefer there be no reference whatsoever, but frankly, it's not a joint resolution. It's a concurrent resolution. Doesn't require the president's signature. There's ample precedent for it. I think in 1973 when President Ford, during one of those sessions, and also in 1943, and quite frankly, there will be, it says in effect that if the Speaker and the Majority Leader of the Senate after consultation with the minority leader of both the House and the Senate, feel that there ought to be a reconvening of the members for whatever purpose that, from my point of view, I think it's well in order, and that we ought to approve it as it's written.
Further reserving the right to object, since we, under that provision, since we adjourn sine die, would that be a reconstitution then of the 101st Congress at that point, or would we have a new session if this Congress was adjourned sine die?
It's a reassembly. If the gentleman will yield, I believe it's a reassembling of this Congress.
I thank the gentleman. I withdraw my reservation.